Hi, I'm going to finish chapter 4 since I had that call and it interrupted. Nah, don't you go telling on me, said the boy. Tom started. Where did you come from? Said Stella. Did you see the clothes he's wearing? Tom started sniggering. Stella, meanwhile, was staring out across the lake to the far bank in front of the woods where there was a little opening. Quick, give me those binoculars back. Tom passed them over and Stella clapped them to her eyes. What is it? Oh, no, it's nothing, Stella said vacantly, but then as she passed the binoculars back, she squinted across the lake again. Funny though, I could have sworn I saw some moles just then. Moles don't come out in daytime, silly, said Tom. Trees don't grow underground, retorted Stella. Now come on, let's row over. All right, chapter 5, The Children in the Garden. The boat slid easily back down the bank, and Stella held it steady as Tom clambered in. One oar each, she commanded, climbing in after him. Tom took the left and Stella the right. Their recent family trip to the boating lake in Hyde Park quickly paid off, and they soon worked up a rhythm. Where do you think we are, Stell? Tom said, marveling at the deep crimson reflections in the water which shattered into pieces as the oars smashed down into them. I haven't the faintest idea, she said, but we'll soon find out. This is the best fun I've had since our first day in Hong Kong. Hannah will never believe it. All the time, Stella was looking over her shoulder, watching the distant bank draw closer. Nearly there. The oars were starting to feel heavy. At 2 meters from the bank, they stopped rowing and left the boat drift slowly in. Stella's heart raced as they clambered out and pulled the boat clear of the water. Whatever lay beyond was blocked. Well, it was only blocked from view by a small wood, but she had already caught the sound of children's voices on the breeze. A narrow path had been cut through the trees, but she decided it was safer not to use it. Follow me, Stella struck into the woods like a sergeant major. Tom pursued his trowel, clutched at his chest, ready for combat. The cool of the woods brought welcome relief. They had both worked up a sweat, and Tom's mouth was parched. Crack, cackle, snap. They continued walking for several minutes. Finally, a curtain of light ahead indicated a clearing. We're nearly through, whispered Stella. I'm thirsty, said Tom. Shh! Stella stopped suddenly as the sound of children's chatter floated towards them from somewhere beyond the clearing ahead. She frowned and then nodded them on. The chatter continued as they crept out through the edge of the wood and into the sunlight. There are children through there, she whispered, pointing through a rhododendron bush. That's a pretty bush that has lots of flowers on it. Tom knelt beside Stella and peered through. Beyond a cluster of tree trunks, he spotted 2 young girls sitting on the lawn with a lady wearing a hat tied under her chin. Judging by how strangely they were dressed, the children looked as though they might be going to a fancy dress party. Look, there's Harry, shouted Tom, jumping up. Harry was streaking across the lawn towards the children and the lady. There you are, Harry, called the smaller girl. Who was that? Demanded the older one, looking around. You stupid idiot, they've heard us, Stella snapped in a whisper. Harry, on hearing Tom's voice, sped past the children and came hurtling through the trees, yapping loudly. Harry boy! Tom tried to catch the tip of the dog's wagging tail, one of Harry's favorite games, and began having so much fun trying to outwit him, he didn't notice Stella's sudden silence. Hey, Stella, now we know where he goes. Tom looked up, but Stella wasn't listening. Instead, she was standing face to face with 2 girls dressed in bright purple party dresses, complete with embroidered patterns around the neckline and a white lace trim at the knee. The girls, who both had beautifully groomed hair, one blonde and one dark, falling in ringlets to their shoulders and decorated with matching purple ribbons, couldn't take their eyes off Stella, who by contrast looked quite a sight in her sky blue t-shirt, cropped skinny jeans, and a bright blue plimsolls. I wonder what plimsolls is. Huh, might be the name of her shoes. Tom picked up a stick and threw it. Harry ran off again. Who are you? Demanded the taller girl in a grand voice. She was clearly the older of the two, and her blonde ringlets glistened importantly in the afternoon sun. And what's more, how do you know Harry? Stella didn't answer. Instead, she fixed her stare on the girl's black woolen tights and shiny black shoes. How strange that they would be wearing clothes like that on a day like this in a park. Perhaps they were royalty, maybe lost princesses or something. Suddenly, a voice was calling, Sophie, Emma, come back now. There's good girls. We must finish your lesson before tea. Lesson, said Tom indignantly. Why are you having a lesson in the school holidays? What are you talking about, stupid boy? Snapped the blonde-haired girl. The dark-haired girl, who looked friendlier, was obviously her sister, edged forward and smiled. Her large brown eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Mama says the more we learn when we're young, the better off we'll be in society. At that moment, the rhododendron bush trembled violently, and the woman with the hat burst into the clearing. Stella and Tom's eyes drew like magnets onto her long-sleeved, dark green dress that swept across the ground like a curtain, which squeezed her waist so tightly it looked as if she must hold her breath permanently. My goodness, she said. Who do we have here? She asked gently. A girl in trousers. Well, I thought I'd seen it all. Tom frowned and clutched tightly onto his trowel. What's your name? Blurted the dark-haired younger girl, smiling at Stella. Emma, dear, it's rude to ask someone's name without introducing yourself first, said the lady. I'm sorry, Miss Walker. She turned to Stella again with a friendly smile. How do you do? My name's Emma Gladstone. I'm 10, and that's my sister Sophie. She's 12. What's your name, please? Stella shook her bedraggled blonde hair off her face. She was determined not to appear nervous. Stella, I'm 11. This is my brother Tom. He's 8. I'll be 11 quite soon, said Emma. Well, not for another month, actually, sneered Sophie. That's quite enough, Sophie, said Miss Walker. She crouched down in front of Tom and Stella. But dears, where are you from? Is your mama or papa here with you? Stella felt her cheeks starting to burn and began to get a sick feeling in her tummy. She gripped her right wrist, feeling with her thumb for her friendship bracelet, but it wasn't there. Why are you wearing those funny clothes? Demanded Sophie. And what's that thing? She was pointing to Stella's iPhone, which was poking out of her jeans pocket. Miss Walker stood up and rounded on her. Sophie, this is your last warning for rudeness. I really don't want to have to tell your mama. I know, shrieked Emma, suddenly jumping with delight. You're my best friend Lucy Culbertson's cousins from Australia, aren't you? Your father's the governor. She told me you were moving back. She eyed them hopefully as everyone paused for a thought. Tom started to open his mouth, but something stirred in Stella. That's right, she cut in. Then she delivered Tom such a piercing glare that he swallowed his words on the spot. Next chapter is The Boy Thief. See you later, alligators.